Hello there. This is Postdoc Chronicles week number 82. And before we dive into it, let me talk about a new game on the Nintendo Switch, which is the Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection. So this is part of like the ongoing compilation project of Capcom, where it started like almost 2 years ago with the Mega Man Legacy Collection. And then it includes all the Mega Mans from 1 to 10. And then you have the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, which includes all of them all the way up to X8. This one includes all the Mega Man Zero games from 1 to 4 on the Game Boy Advance, and then it also includes Mega Man ZX and Mega Man ZX Advent for the Nintendo DS. So I really love this game on the Game Boy Advance. This is like one of the games where my thumbs really hurt, and in my personal opinion, it's like the hardest Mega Man series out there. It's really tough. Like I think I played like the quadrology on the Game Boy Advance. I think the toughest for me is like Mega Man Zero Two. Man, like when you fight the boss battle, you have to your performance should be at least a certain percentage so that you can like steal some power ups from them. It's really very tough, very hard. I get like cramps on my thumb with that game, and yeah, like this guy Phoenix Magnon in Mega Man Zero Two, I really hate that guy. So Mega Man, I always come back to Mega Man Zero, the first one. I believe I finished the first one many times as opposed to the others in the series. But in terms of difficulty, I would give it to Mega Man Zero Two, and then I believe three had like a good story, and then Mega Man Four introduces a lot of new mechanics like the when you tackle a stage, the stage layout would be different depending on the weather. You can steal enemy abilities and so on. So it's really very cool. And then eventually it went to the Nintendo DS. It's also curious that initially on the Nintendo DS they also released the an initial Mega Man Zero collection for the DS, all the four Mega Man games on the Game Boy Advance, but never before was it available on a console like this one. But yeah, the Nintendo DS though, the Mega Man Zero, ZX, and Advent. So ZX, the idea is it's set hundreds of years from the events of the Mega Man Zero. You have this kid who fuses with the biometal, but I never actually finished it because they went the route of like Metroidvania instead of Mega Man Zero series action platformer, run and gun. You go from point A to point B and then beat the final boss. Here they went Metroidvania style, and it wasn't really very good because in the Nintendo DS, the map layout, they have a map, but the map that they gave you is very confusing. So it gave me like, eventually I got lazy and then I didn't finish it. So I don't know, maybe eventually I'll come back for it, but I definitely prefer the initial Zero series. But here, aside from the games, you get tons of, like, I believe like 600 plus arts on the Mega Man Zero, lore. You get several music, like the remixes, and then in here you also get like the Japanese version, where in the Japanese version when you kill an enemy, blood would splatter. They actually deleted that on the US release. So if you play Mega Man Zero on the Game Boy Advance, if you're playing the US version, there's no blood. But if you're playing like the Japanese version, when you hack someone, blood will splatter, right? But yeah, anyway, it's a very nice game on the Nintendo Switch. But let's now go to postdoc. So mainly my job for this week, I focus on the qualification task with I was doing with Giancarlo Panizzu, my technical supervisor. It's weird. I received an email from here. From him like just yesterday, and he said like he's not yet my like official supervisor. So I think he's currently my acting supervisor. So I don't know when I get an official one, but so far he has been really very helpful. So last time what I did was, because I had a hard time trying to set up Pythia 8.301. So Pythia was releasing a new a version of their old 8.244, and usually if you're a phenomenologist, you can like set up Pythia on your laptop and then do your thing. But in Atlas, you need to enter the terminal, and then you need to go to the Athena framework, and then the Pythia you're using is part of that Athena framework. So it's very different when you use it independently and when you use it like the ones built in Athena. Most importantly, what you do is, so in standalone, you call like jobs, like you type it on the command file, and then you, depending on the options that you want, you can turn different things on and off. In the Athena implementation of Pythia, there is like this things called job options separated into different numbers or blocks called DSID, the data set ID. And so what you do is you just run a command that calls a specific job option. So for example, you want to produce or you want to simulate gamma plus jets, for example. So there's already an existing list of command that exists, an existing job option that does exactly that. You want to study like minimum bias, you already have something like that. So what you do is you just call them, but the problem is these things work, these things are set up for 8.244. So the thing is, I now have to make these things run on 8.301 within the Athena framework. So of course, the first obvious step is I just naively try calling all the DSID, all the job options that are using Pythia explicitly. Okay, so I did that. I made sure that they run, of course, on the old Pythia. So because I haven't tried it, it's actually like my first time running Pythia on the Athena, Athena framework. When I used Pythia before, it's outside that, so it's independent. It's easier. So I tried calling these job options, making sure that they work on 8.244. Obviously they do, otherwise they won't be there. And then I began trying to so I now installed, or I now link the Pythia that is being used by Athena. I linked it to 8.301 for my debugging, and then I began calling all these job options, and I think I only found one that works. All the rest is like it gives either like a fatal error crash, or it gives like a segmentation fault or something like that. And so I had to, figure out like look at the log files, compare the log file of those that work and those that do not, and then compare the log files of that single job option that indeed works on 8.301. I believe it's the example on the minimum bias. I forgot, I'm not sure, but yeah. So Giancarlo said that maybe what we can do is maybe the problem is on the way people write the existing job options. He mentioned that they have, some freedom in the way they write. So I don't know what he meant, but I believe like they can just lay out anything the way they want. I believe that's what he's talking about. So what we do is I manually run 8.301 outside these different job options. And if I want to test an existing job option, I get the Pythia 8 commands relevant to those job options and then run it manually on 8.301, but still on the Atlas framework. Okay, so I've been doing that. So indeed they run, and Giancarlo, he had this hunch that maybe the problem was not with the Pythia 8 current version or the Pythia 8 interface, but with the way people have been layouting or have been writing their job options. So far, I've been testing some existing job options whose commands run on 8.301, but when you call that specific job option directly, it doesn't work. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back all through all these existing job options, pick out manually their Pythia commands that they have, and then feed it to 8.301 myself manually. And maybe eventually, if the problem is indeed how the way people write job options, then maybe, I don't know, I'm gonna prepare new job options that is suited for or that works with 8.301. But still, I'm a bit confused or surprised, because if there is a problem with the layouting, I don't know why it works with 8.244 but not with 8.301. So the only thing that we change is the Pythia. And if these commands work with Pythia 8.301, then how come they don't work in the light of the layouting that they have with the old job option? I don't know. So that's what I'm gonna figure out. But of course, basically, an Atlas qualification task basically lasts for like a whole year. You have a whole year to do it, and if they think the task that you did for Atlas is satisfactory enough, then you become part of the author list of Atlas. So that's what I did. But anyway, this has been Postdoc Chronicles week number 82. I'll see you next time on Postdoc Chronicles week number 83. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.